Do your legs feel heavy at the end of the day? Do you get that dull, achy feeling in your calves, even when you haven't done anything strenuous? Or maybe you've noticed your feet are always cold, even in a warm room. If you're over 70 and any of that sounds familiar, I need you to watch this video all the way to the end. Because what I'm about to share with you is something that most doctors simply don't talk about in a 5-minute office visit. And it could quite literally change the way you feel every single day. I'm Dr. Michael Kent. I've spent over 2 decades in internal and vascular medicine, and today I want to talk to you about the single most powerful vitamin for restoring blood flow in your legs and why most people over 70 are severely deficient in it right now without even knowing it. Let me start with a little biology, and I promise to keep it simple. Your circulatory system is essentially a network of highways. Your heart is the engine. Your blood vessels, your arteries, and your veins are the roads. And your blood carries everything your body needs: oxygen, nutrients, warmth, and healing signals. When you're young, those highways are wide open. Blood flows freely, and your legs feel strong and energized. You could walk for miles, stand for hours. You didn't even think about your legs because they just worked. But here's what happens as we age, and especially after 70. The walls of your blood vessels begin to stiffen. The smooth muscle inside your arteries loses its natural flexibility and elasticity. Over time, the inner lining of your vessels, a delicate layer called the endothelium, becomes damaged by years of inflammation and oxidative stress. The result? Your blood simply can't move as efficiently as it used to. Think of it like a garden hose that's been left out in the sun for years. It gets stiff, it gets narrow, the water pressure drops, and the plants at the end of that hose, your legs, your feet, your toes, don't get enough water. Doctors call the severe end of this problem peripheral artery disease, or PAD, and it affects an estimated 200 million people worldwide. But you don't have to have a diagnosed condition to feel the effects. The truth is, millions of older adults are living with reduced circulation, and nobody has ever told them why. Many of my patients come in saying things like, "My legs just feel tired all the time," or "I used to walk to the mailbox with no problem, now I have to stop halfway," or "My feet tingle when I sit too long, my calves cramp at night, my toes are always ice cold." These are signs that your leg circulation is struggling, and for years the medical answer has been, watch your diet, exercise more, come back in 6 months. But there's something else happening underneath all of this, something that isn't checked on a standard blood panel. A deficiency that quietly and steadily accelerates the decline of your circulation year after year. And it's something we can actually address. Here's what I want to ask you. When was the last time your doctor checked your vitamin K2 levels? If you're like most of my patients, the answer is never. Vitamin K2, not K1, which is the vitamin you get from leafy greens and which most people have heard of. I'm talking specifically about K2. And this distinction is absolutely critical because these two vitamins do completely different things in your body. Vitamin K1 helps your blood clot. That's its primary job, and most people get enough of it from their diet if they're eating vegetables regularly. Vitamin K2 does something completely different. Its primary job, and listen closely here, is to direct calcium where it belongs in your body. You see, calcium isn't just for your bones. Calcium actually has a very dangerous habit of depositing in your soft tissues, including the walls of your blood vessels, when it's not being properly managed and directed. And who manages it? Vitamin K2. K2 activates 2 critical proteins in your body. The first is called osteocalcin, which pulls calcium into your bones, keeping them dense and strong. The second is called matrix GLA protein, or MGP. And this one is the key to everything we're talking about today. MGP is the most powerful inhibitor of arterial calcification that we know of. It literally prevents calcium from hardening inside your artery walls. Here's the terrifying part. When you don't have enough vitamin K2 in your system, MGP stays inactive. It just sits there, unable to do its job. And without it working, calcium drifts freely through your bloodstream and begins depositing inside the walls of your arteries, including the ones in your legs and feet. Doctors have a name for this process. They call it arterial calcification, and study after study has linked it directly to stiffened vessels, reduced blood flow, elevated blood pressure, and significantly higher risk of heart attack and stroke. A landmark study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that people with the highest intake of vitamin K2 had a 57% lower risk of dying from heart and vascular disease compared to those with the lowest intake. 57%. That is not a small number. That is a life-changing number. Now you might be wondering, where does K2 come from? And why are so many of us so deficient? The answer is that our modern diet has almost entirely stripped it out. Vitamin K2 is found primarily in fermented foods, aged cheeses, organ meats, and pasture-raised animal products. Traditional diets, particularly in Japan and parts of Europe, were naturally rich in K2. In Japan, a fermented soybean dish called natto is one of the single richest sources of K2 on the planet. And Japan, not coincidentally, has some of the lowest rates of osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease in the developed world. But the average Western diet today? Virtually no K2. We've moved away from fermented foods. We've cut back on full-fat dairy. We've replaced animal products with processed alternatives. And in doing so, we've quietly eliminated one of the most important nutrients for vascular health. And here's why this hits people over 70 the hardest. First, as we age, our gut bacteria naturally decline in both diversity and volume, and certain strains of gut bacteria actually produce K2 inside our intestines through the fermentation process. Less healthy gut flora means less internally produced K2. Second, older adults are far more likely to be on medications that interfere with vitamin K metabolism, particularly blood thinners like warfarin. If you are currently on warfarin or any anticoagulant medication, please speak to your doctor before making any changes to your vitamin K intake. This is not optional advice, it is medically critical. Third, fat absorption declines with age. Vitamin K2 is fat soluble, which means your body needs dietary fat present in order to absorb it properly. If you've been following a low-fat diet for decades, as many people were advised to do, your K2 absorption may have been compromised for years without you realizing it. The result is that many people over 70 are walking around with severely depleted K2 levels. Their arteries are stiffening, blood flow to their legs is dropping, and they assume it's just what getting old feels like. It's not just getting old, it's a fixable deficiency. Let me walk you through some of the research because I know many of you want the evidence, and you should. In 2015, a study out of the Netherlands, one of the most respected nutrition research countries in the world, followed over 16,000 women for 8 years. It found that for every 10 micrograms of vitamin K2 consumed per day, the risk of coronary heart disease decreased by 9%. Every single 10 micrograms. A separate study published in the journal Atherosclerosis found that higher K2 intake was directly associated with less arterial stiffness and better arterial elasticity. In plain English, softer, more flexible arteries that allow blood to flow freely. Another controlled study measured arterial calcification in patients who supplemented with vitamin K2 versus those who took a placebo. After 3 years, the K2 group showed no meaningful progression of calcification. The placebo group? Calcification continued to increase. The K2 group's arteries had essentially stopped aging in that particular way. And perhaps most directly relevant to what we're discussing today, a 2021 study specifically examining peripheral artery disease found that low K2 status was significantly associated with both the presence and the severity of PAD. This is not fringe science. This is peer-reviewed, published research in respected medical journals. And yet, go ask your family doctor how much K2 you need today. Most of them will not have a clear answer. So what do we do with this information? Let me give you clear, practical guidance. The most bioavailable and effective form of K2 is called MK7, or menaquinone 7. It stays active in your body significantly longer than other forms, and it's the form used in most of the clinical research I just described. When you're looking for a supplement, look specifically for the words vitamin K2 as MK7 on the label, not just vitamin K, not just K complex, specifically MK7. The dose that appears most consistently effective across the research is between 90 and 180 micrograms per day. Now here's something equally important. K2 works hand in hand with vitamin D3, and this combination is not optional. It's critical to how the whole system works. Here's the reason. Vitamin D3 activates the production of the very proteins, including matrix Glay protein, that K2 then activates to protect your arteries. Think of D3 as the architect who designs the building, and K2 as the contractor who actually builds it. You need both. One without the other leaves the job half done. Most adults over 70 are also significantly deficient in D3, particularly if they live in northern climates, spend limited time outdoors, or have darker skin. A typical starting dose is between 2,000 and 5,000 IU of D3 per day, taken alongside your K2. You'll often find these two combined into a single convenient supplement, which is perfectly fine and actually ideal. Beyond K2 and D3, there are a few other nutrients that can meaningfully support your circulation. Magnesium is one that most older adults are deficient in without realizing it. Magnesium helps relax the smooth muscle inside your blood vessels, naturally reducing vascular resistance and improving flow. Look for magnesium glycinate or magnesium malate. These are the most absorbable forms. Magnesium oxide, which is the cheapest and most common form in supplements, is largely wasted because your body absorbs very little of it. Omega-3 fatty acids from high-quality fish oil or algae-based sources reduce inflammation in the vessel walls and actually improve the physical flexibility of your red blood cells. Red blood cells need to be pliable and flexible to squeeze through the smallest capillaries in your feet and toes. Omega-3s help keep them that way. And CoQ10, especially important if you are currently taking a statin medication. Statins, which are widely prescribed for cholesterol, are known to deplete CoQ10 levels in the body. CoQ10 is critical for cellular energy production in your heart muscle and throughout your vascular system. If you're on a statin and you haven't been told to supplement CoQ10, have that conversation with your doctor. Now let's talk about lifestyle, because supplements alone are powerful, but when you pair them with a few simple daily habits, the results can be genuinely remarkable. Walking. I know this sounds almost too simple, but 30 minutes of walking per day, even broken into 3 10-minute segments throughout the day, is one of the most powerful therapies for peripheral circulation available to you. It doesn't require a gym membership. It doesn't require special equipment. It just requires doing it. Here's the science behind why walking works so powerfully. When you walk, especially if you push through mild discomfort in your calves, your body begins developing what are called collateral blood vessels, tiny alternative pathways that literally build a biological detour around narrowed arteries. This process is called therapeutic angiogenesis, and it is your body's own engineering solution to poor circulation. Walking regularly, consistently, is essentially telling your body to build new roads. Elevating your legs is another simple practice that makes a real difference. When you're resting, prop your feet up slightly above heart level. This reduces the venous pressure that builds up from gravity throughout the day and gives your leg veins a chance to drain properly. Just 15 to 20 minutes in the evening can reduce that heavy, swollen feeling noticeably. Warmth matters too. Cold causes blood vessels to constrict as your body conserves heat. If your feet are always cold, warm foot soaks, thermal socks, and simply avoiding prolonged cold exposure all help maintain comfortable circulation in your extremities. Hydration is something most older adults underestimate. Blood actually becomes thicker and more viscous when you're dehydrated. Thicker blood flows harder, it creates more resistance, and your heart has to work harder to push it through already narrowed vessels. Aim for 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. Many older adults are chronically and mildly dehydrated, often because the thirst sensation becomes less sensitive as we age. You may not feel thirsty even when your body needs water. Drink on a schedule rather than waiting until you feel thirsty. And if you smoke, I say this without any judgment because I know how difficult quitting is, but the data is absolutely unambiguous on this point. Smoking is the single most destructive thing you can do to your peripheral circulation. It directly constricts blood vessels. It accelerates arterial calcification. It damages the endothelium. If you are watching this video because your legs are struggling and you still smoke, addressing that is the single highest impact change you can make. I want to be completely honest with you about the timeline here because I think false expectations cause real damage to people's trust and motivation. You will not feel dramatically different after 1 week. You will not reverse years of arterial calcification in a month. Anyone who tells you otherwise is not being honest with you. But here is what many people genuinely do experience within 4 to 12 weeks of beginning a consistent K2 and D3 regimen alongside these lifestyle improvements. Noticeably, warmer feet and hands, sometimes within the first few weeks. Less heaviness and fatigue in the legs by evening. An improved ability to walk longer distances before discomfort sets in. Better sleep at night, partly because reduced leg discomfort means fewer nighttime disruptions and less restless leg sensation, and a general sense of more energy and lightness in the lower body. The science shows that arterial calcification can be halted, and in some studies partially reversed, over 12 to 24 months of consistent K2 supplementation. This is a long game, But it is absolutely a game worth playing because the alternative is watching your mobility and independence slowly decline year by year. Before I wrap up, I need to be very direct about some important medical cautions. If you are on warfarin or any other blood thinner, do not change your vitamin K intake without an explicit conversation with your prescribing doctor first. Vitamin K directly influences the clotting process and can significantly affect how your medication works. This is not something to experiment with on your own. If you have kidney disease, speak with your nephrologist before adding K2. Certain forms can be problematic for people with compromised kidney function. If you are being treated for any existing vascular condition, everything I've discussed today is meant to work alongside your medical care, not replace it. Please be fully transparent with your doctor about every supplement you take. They can only help you effectively if they know the complete picture. And finally, this is very important. If you experience sudden or severe pain in your legs, cramping that doesn't resolve, numbness that won't go away, skin color changes in your feet or toes, or any wound on your foot or leg that isn't healing, please see a doctor immediately. These symptoms can signal a serious vascular emergency that requires medical attention right away. Let me bring this all together for you. Your legs feel the way they do for a reason. It is not simply the inevitable price of getting older. It is biology. And it is biology that we have real tools to influence. The number one nutrient that most people over 70 are missing for their vascular health is vitamin K2, specifically in the MK7 form. When paired with vitamin D3, this combination helps prevent and slow arterial calcification, the quiet hardening of blood vessels that chokes off circulation to your legs year after year. Supporting this foundation with magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, CoQ10, consistent daily walking, proper hydration, and adequate sleep creates a comprehensive circulation strategy that is grounded in peer-reviewed science and practiced by forward-thinking doctors around the world. You do not have to accept cold feet, heavy legs, and declining mobility as your permanent reality. For many people, these symptoms are partially reversible, and for most, their progression can be significantly slowed or stopped. You have spent decades taking care of everyone around you, your children, your grandchildren, your partners, and your parents. It is past time to take care of yourself. Take care of your legs. Take care of your circulation. Because when your legs work, everything else in your life works better too. If this video helped you today, please share it with someone you love who might need to hear this message. A parent, a sibling, a friend who has been complaining about their legs. This information could genuinely change their daily life. And if you have questions about anything I've covered, leave them in the comments below. I read through them and I do my best to respond. I'm Dr. Michael Kent. Stay healthy, stay moving, and I'll see you in the next video.